welcome to the Cypress testing masterclass. And before we start, I would like to give you an overview of what you can expect in this 1 hour masterclass. You can imagine that Cypress is not something that you can learn from scratch in 1 hour. So especially we have some folks who are new to JavaScript as well. So I won't put the burden of uh, trying to uh, teach JavaScript or go through the basics of it. But what I can promise is that one, two, three, all the three audience will get something out of this masterclass. Uh, and we will achieve that by talking about uh, some language agnostic components and things that will help you even outside Cypress. Like if you're not even using Cypress, these concepts would make you think about testing in a new way. So that's what I would like to achieve. Even if you don't use Cypress after this workshop, you would think about testing in a different way. So that is my goal over here. So with that, let's get started with our workshop. So there was a very famous saying, I don't know where it comes from, but it says that if you don't have automated tests, the users are the test. And I very much agree with this statement. And this is a very cliche kind of a diagram when it comes to talking about testing, not just in R, but software development in general, the testing pyramid. And as you can see, there are different types of tests broadly classified into unit, integration, and E2E tests. And as you can see, the unit tests are more isolated, whereas the end-to-end tests are the uh, highest integration can be achieved only by end-to-end tests. There's a reason for that. The main reason for this is that normally when we develop some software solution, it's uh, it's going to communicate with other software solutions uh, to achieve something. So this predominantly creates a huge issue with integrating things together. Things break in isolation, but things work in isolation. But when you try to use it with other services, it will start to break. It's just because uh, you're trying to integrate with a component that is also evolving. So because of this reason, unexpected consequences are very high when it comes to uh, interacting with other components. So that's the overview of this. And when it comes to the cost, you can see that unit tests are fast. Fast means automatically it refers to the server cost. It runs faster. It takes less time. Employees can do more tests in less time. So ROI, higher ROI, so less cost. And as you can see, as we move up the pyramid, the cost increases as well. So if this happens, why are we even talking about E2E tests? Should we just keep every test as unit tests and call it a day? So that's the problem. So right now, most of the R packages, they use test that package to write unit tests. That's a really good thing. And from what I know, the adoption of test that to write unit tests is very high in CRAN packages. But when it comes to integration and E2E tests, it's not very common in R packages because normally when you talk about R packages, they are a single unit of package. And uh, okay, I see some problem with respect to video and audio. Is it fine now? Can you hear it better? I can try to change the mic. Okay, moving on. But when it comes to integration and E2E tests, they are not very common in R packages. The main reason for that is because of the way in which we use R packages. So you'll only find these kind of integration tests where there is synergy between uh, when there is synergy between multiple packages. And in this case, I can think of such synergies when it comes to dplyr and ggplot2. So it makes sense to write how well they are integrated with each other. But again, the tidyverse team maintains all both of those packages, so they do that internally. But when it comes to the packages that we develop, we don't usually think about it. uh, but not uh, this is not how it's supposed to be um, when it comes to Shiny apps, because Shiny apps in particular are are complex R code that works with multiple endpoints. So when you have a Shiny app, most definitely it connects to some database, or it takes data from an API, or at least it reads the data from a local CSV file or something. But even these CSV files can change in the future. So the probability of your Shiny app to be used in a way it is not intended to is becomes higher, which makes it possible to uh, break easily. So it's more fragile, Shiny apps in particular. So writing integration tests and E2E tests, they might not be as important when it comes to the R package, but they are very important when it comes to Shiny apps. And when we talk about the integration tests in particular, one of the huge integration tests that classical web applications do is that they used to test if the UI and the server is integrated properly. And luckily, when it comes to Shiny apps, this is not a huge problem when it comes to Shiny, because Shiny manages the UI and server. Unless you have a business logic that's incorrect, uh, the integration of UI and server is not going to be broken. So that's a plus when it comes to Shiny. And this pyramid particularly only talks about automated tests. And generally, a good software development team would also consist of a QA team, which will manually test these applications to ensure that they are at a higher quality. And uh, that is what E2E tests could try to avoid. So E2E tests, although they cost more, they try to offload some of the work away from the QA team. So that's how the cost is justified. And this talk is about that. This talk is about uh, reducing the manual tests and moving some of the testing responsibilities to uh, software automated tests. And here there are two popular solutions when it comes to testing Shiny. Shiny Test 2 and Cypress. In this talk, we'll talk predominantly about Cypress, but I'll also talk about the differences between Cypress and Shiny Test 2. So when it comes to Cypress, it works with any web app, not just Shiny app. But Shiny Test 2 works only with Shiny apps, and it taps very deep into the source code of Shiny and tests that to achieve this. So there are a lot of internal machinery that's going on, which has its pros and cons. The pros is that you would be able to test a very complex server logic by exporting some of the values and making them available for the tests, which is something that you can't do in Cypress. And the con is that you can't simulate real world interaction because it bypasses it. And Cypress has a relatively higher learning curve. I'm not going to lie about it, but it's higher for sure. Uh, but the advantage is that Cypress has a rich API for real world interaction to simulate the web application just as a real person would do manually. But when it comes to Shiny Test 2, the interaction part is limited. There is a good reason for that. It's because you don't really need it, because you can directly change Shiny inputs and navigate it. So it's a very cool thing that Shiny Test 2 has, but it doesn't really do the real interaction. And when it comes to Cypress, the tests, you can test actual deployments of your Shiny apps. So it might be little ambiguous when I mention it over here, but when we do the live demo, it will become clear. And Shiny Test 2 is particularly good with regression testing to check if your Shiny app has not changed from the previous state. So that's a good use case for Shiny Test 2. And these are the requirements that you need to have before running the Cypress test. That's why the workshop is view only. I would do all the coding, and at the end we'll have a Q&A session so that we save some time. Yeah. So in this case particularly, we are going to use the Node.js. Node.js helps us to write JavaScript code in our local machine. NPM is, you can think of NPM as similar to CRAN, how CRAN supplies R packages, NPM supplies JavaScript packages. And when it comes to JavaScript, you don't need to know a lot of JavaScript. Some JavaScript syntax is enough, but I would highly recommend doing some JavaScript bootcamp so that you'll be comfortable using JavaScript. But as you can see, with the rise of ChatGPT and copilots, it's not, the syntax is not going to stop us. So that's why I'm not going to talk more about syntax. Yeah. Now we go to live demo. So I should share my whole screen. Entire screen. So I hope this is visible. Okay. The step one is to make sure that you have downloaded Node and installed it. So I've already done that. Step two verifies that I have that. So the way we verify is that we just type node-v. It will show what version of Node we have, and npm-v. So when you install Node, you will also automatically get npm. No separate installation needed. Step three, we create a new npm project. So npm project is kind of like an R project, yeah, but for JavaScript. So in this case, I'll open my VS Code for this, so it's easier. So I'll switch back and forth between the presentation and the VS Code. In the VS Code, as you can see, it's blank. This is my terminal. I'll also run R over here, R JavaScript, anything over here. One thing that I would like to show is how you can go to R and type R commands and they are executed. If you type node, here it's actually running JavaScript. And in fact, this JavaScript can, one version of this node is also present in every browser. So if you go to browser developer tools and console and type here something, this is actually JavaScript that is doing it. So it's a really cool language to learn. And yeah, I'll exit away from Node. Now, as you can see, ls, it's blank, nothing is there. I would just do this. Oh no, I thought I can copy this. I cannot. npm init y. So this will initialize a project. What that does is it creates a package.json. If you're aware with renv in R, it's similar to ren, but not quite. I'll talk about that in the next slide. So package.json stores what version of packages are needed for this project. So in this case, there are no dependencies yet. We'll slowly add that. We'll add that by, we need Cypress. So we install Cypress by running npm install Cypress. This is similar to our install.packages Cypress. It's it's the very same command. And this is actually a good distinction. So in most of the programming languages, you install the packages from a terminal outside the actual interpreter of the language. So we didn't install Cypress inside the node JavaScript environment. We installed it from outside. In R, it's different. You can install it from outside as well, but you can also install it from inside. So that's a good distinction. So when we do this, as you can see, a package log JSON was created. This is similar to ren log file that we have. As you can see, the log file. So most of the programming languages follow similar nomenclature. So once you know one programming language, you can easily migrate. So it's not as bad as you think. It also creates node modules. This is similar to the rend directory, which stores all the R packages. Here it stores all the JavaScript packages. So if I open here, you can see a lot of other packages being displayed here, including Cypress, because those are the dependencies of the Cypress package. So yeah, this step is done. Next, we do npx Cypress open. This is the main command that opens Cypress. As you can see, a lot of the file structure changed. So not to get overwhelmed, I will explain what happens. These three files are slightly grayed out, so forget about them. You already know what they mean. When we open Cypress, it will try to set up the Cypress project, kind of like Rhino init, how Rhino init creates all these files. Cypress open would create these files. Let's try that. npx Cypress open. It's opening, yeah. As you can see, there is a Cypress window open. We are going to try the E2E testing, not component. So I'll click this. So once I click this, that is when these would be created. And it also says that, okay, we've added these to your project. So we continue. And I prefer Chrome, so I'll select Chrome. It really doesn't matter. It works on all the browsers, all these browsers. It actually works on Firefox as well, but I don't have it installed, so it's not allowing me to select it. Yeah, so as you can see, if I go to the slide and show the Cypress directory, you can see Cypress has fixtures and support, and support has these two files. Fixtures has this one file, so I'm not lying. It actually creates these files. And outside, you can see Cypress config.js is there. We won't talk about any of these files, at least till the second half of the workshop. So don't worry about them for now. We only care about another folder that happens when you click the when you choose E2E and click the scaffold example specs. So as you can see, E2E directory was created where it contains a lot of the cy.js files. They are technically JavaScript files, but they have this cy extension as well to distinguish them from the normal JavaScript files. So when we click them, you can see that great, we've added these following files to your project. Yeah, lot of these files. In fact, if I go to the file browser and open this, you can see that all these cy.js files are created over here. So these files are very important to us. So these are basically the test files that we create in an R test. So inside a normal test, what we would do is we would go inside the tests directory, test that directory, and create some test.r file where we add some of the unit tests, right? So this is very analogous to that. So the greatest thing about Cypress is how easy it is to visually see the tests being run. So in this case, this was if you recall, we did not do anything. All we did was click E2E and generated some automated specs. So we did not do anything. So in this case, if we click the to do one of the spec file, it will not only open the spec file, it will start running the spec file. So spec file is specification file. So in this case, the specification contains some of the test specifications that is being executed. So in this case, all of these are common, so don't worry about them. But it uses something called BDD, behavior driven development, to write tests. So as you can see, it's very natural to read this code. So it's a describe example to app. So I'm describing this app, and before each visit, before each of these tests, visit this link, and describe comes with a pairing of it. You're describing it. What I'm describing is it displays two to-do items by default. And if you go to this link, as you can see, two to-do links are there for sure. Let's try to manually simulate this. So it will give us an idea of how this code translate into manual action. So before each of these it statements, it scope, we are going to visit this. Okay, we'll refresh this to simulate that, and we do we do a to-do list list item and check if it has length 2. So that's pretty much what it is doing. It's an assertion, and here it has two values. So this passed, this is true, and we get the list item, first item, and we check if it has test pay electric bill, which is also true. The first of these list items has electricity bill, and the second one has walk the dog. That is true. So this test is passed. The second test, it can add new to do items. So how we can achieve that? We just add a constant called feed the cat. So looks like I want to add this new to do item. So it says that data test new to do. This is one way of selecting items using data attributes, which is something that Cypress recommends, because CSS classes might change when you try to change the style of the app and would like to refactor the classes. But data attributes don't change as often, because those are data attributes. They are supposed to be used this way. So Cypress recommends testing selections using this. So we are trying to get a data test attribute called new to do, which is basically this text area, this text input, and we type new item, which was feed the cat, and do enter. So that's just the syntax, don't worry about it. So basically we type this and click enter. When I do that, as you can see, this was added to the to do, and here it will basically assert it. So this type of test is called arrange, act, and assert. So we arrange our test, we do some action, then we assert if our action produced the right result. So that's pretty much it. All the other tests are also pretty much follow the same thing, but it tests different things. Things like when I scratch it, does it disappear? Or when I uncheck it, does it reappear? Things like that. Or when I do this, does it totally get removed? It's this is just testing that. And now we manually saw how this test was being implemented. If you want to check how this test is supposed to be implemented in Cypress, we can interactively see how that happened. So we saw the first two tests, right? So let's see what happens. So every time every line in the Cypress test, you can actually see the DOM element during that time. So what that means is, it's a fancy way of saying at every line execution, I know exactly what the screenshot of the web page was. So in this case, I'm visiting the page. During visit, of course, it had these two to-do lists. I'm getting this. While getting, it's not going to change anything. But since I'm getting this, it's highlighting that, okay, I got this. So it's now I can, if there is some bug, I can easily debug this. So next we assert, and it's showing green because it passed. In a failure, it will be red, of course. When we try to do the next get, we are getting the first element, asserting it. It has pay electricity bill, getting the last element, getting it. As you can see, it was very visual. I can literally see every line of code and what UI element it corresponds to. So that makes it very easy to write the tests. And it's been this kind of testing paradigm has been there for so long that co-pilots perform really well in writing these tests. And the second one we visited, because before every test we visit this, and we get the text, we type this, we enter, feed the cat was entered, we expect check if it's added, yeah it's added, yeah it's passed. So the other tests are basically some version of this test. So one really cool thing about Cypress is that it's very reactive, which I really love about this. So as soon as I change this test, it will automatically rerun the test. For example, we got the to-do list and expected it to have length 2. What if we change it to expectation of length 3? It's going to fail. It's trying to see if 2 happens. 2 doesn't happen. It failed. So all I need to do was change this value and save my file. It re-executed. So that's the true power of Cypress. That's why I love Cypress. And yeah, and let's address the elephant in the room. So we are trying to test some deployed app by Cypress. So how do we test our Shiny apps? In fact, we can test any app over here. It really doesn't matter if you have the source code for the app. Now this deployment would make sense, which I alluded to earlier. So you can actually test the deployments of apps. So let me just go to Epsilon homepage, and if I paste it here, you can see literally it's trying to visit epsilon.com right now to do these tests. Of course, it won't have to do and all of that, but as you can see, the website is loaded here and it's going to test. It's going to fail every single test, but you get the idea. So you can test the deployments. What this also helps us to solve is that if your deployment is successful, so even if your deployment might be dependent on other parameters that are very specific to deployment. So those things can be missed when you just test locally. So the advantage of Cypress is that you can test them. Yeah, so now I think we talked about this. One more thing I wanted to talk about is Cypress did not just create, let me undo this change. So it works. As you can see, it works now. When Cypress created, it did not create this one file. It actually created all these files. And one more fun fact is that if you're in any spec file and you click this, it will directly go to the IDE, which is a very, very cool feature. It supports like 4-5 IDs, Atom, VS Code, Sublime Text, not RStudio yet, and hopefully never, because I don't see a point why they would do that. But VS Code is getting very powerful. It's good for R as well. It's my primary driver. But enough about VS Code. Let's talk about Cypress. So we talked about what was I going to say? Yeah, one more cool thing is that if something fails, let's say this failed, when I make it to 3, of course it will fail. So when it fails, you can actually click this and go to the exact line as well. So how cool is that? So like even if I close this file and I click this, it will open it, so and go to the same line. So it's a very great developer experience once you get the hang of the basics. So hopefully after this masterclass, you would have some motivation to try it out. So that's the aim. And when it comes to the other examples, there are these advanced examples, and as you can see, slow typing, fast typing, these are all action-based, mouse click, mouse hover, drag. Lot of these interactions can be done using Cypress to really simulate the real-world events. And I would recommend after the workshop, tomorrow or day after, when you find time, do this Cypress in it. All you need to do is install node, npm init, npm npx Cypress open after installing Cypress, and click the scaffold example specs. So that's the first half of the Cypress workshop, where the next step is you try it out and see how it works. So we talked about test specs. We talked about this. Now we talk about and Cypress docs is amazing. So it's one of the best docs I've ever seen. As you can see, even while initializing it, they give a very testable framework. In this case, I would actually delete the advanced examples, so that we only have this one to do test. And we go to the next slide, which is when it comes to syntax, you don't really need to know a lot of Cypress syntax to run these tests. If you ask me, I would say these are the only four broad syntax that you need. BDD syntax and actions are kind of huge. It's a list of syntax. You don't need to know every one of them, but once you click them and visit, and you get an idea of, okay, these are the actions I can do. Click. I want to do a type operation. I'll look at the syntax and I'll do it. So that level of knowledge is quite enough. But get and should, these are the very important verbs, methods that Cypress provides. We didn't talk about much of the syntax now, because we'll talk about it when we actually test a Shiny app. And as I already mentioned, arrange, act, assert is one of the most used common testing pattern, and these functions would help you achieve that. So I think most of what you want to do with Cypress, you only need these functions, and it might feel like just a few of these functions, but that's not true. They can really achieve everything that you would like to have. Because when we talk about test that functions, you can see that all these popular packages still use most of their testing code contains expect equal, expect identical, expect snapshot. But when you look at test that documentation, you can see there are a lot of expectation assertion functions out there, but you can see that still the most popular ones are these. And it's not just true for a collective of these packages, it's true for each and every one of these packages. So the same is true for Cypress as well. So those functions are enough to do most, if not all, of your testing needs. Now we try to run this test interactively. So far we only ran this test we ran this test interactively. Now we'll try to run this non-interactively. So the good thing about Cypress is that you can run it in a headless browser. So you don't need a Chrome, Electron, or Firefox, or any browser to run. So all you need to do is run this command, npx Cypress run. So if I run this, all the to-do tests that we have over here are going to be executed. And as you can see, all of them passed. There were 6. Yeah, if you count, I'm sure there will be 6. And so far we saw 2 commands, npx Cypress open, Cypress run. Open will open it so that you can run the tests interactively. Run will run it non-interactively in the terminal as a headless in a headless mode. What npm allows us to do is npm allows us to create these script files, which can be a replacement for our commands. So instead of npx Cypress run, I can simply do npm note that npx and npm are used a lot. So npm is different, npx is to execute a command. So it's a very huge difference over here. So what the script would do is it will allow me to write npm run, and the this particular Cypress run, if I want to run, I would just do test npm run test. It will do the exact same thing as npx Cypress run. As you can see, the exact same result. Yeah, so that's that. Now we come to Shiny. I see we are slowly running out of time, so I would try to cover everything that I have. So when it comes to Shiny, I will create a new repository because I need this repository to showcase CI. I'll call it Cypress Shiny. Yeah, Cypress Shiny, and I'll open this. It's blank, nothing is there, and I want to create an app file over here. So let me create an app.r file and create a very simple Shiny app. But not just the Shiny app, I'll do an npm init y to also install Cypress. Just the previous steps, because we also need Cypress. So now we are trying to see how Shiny can be tested with Cypress. Cypress is installed. I'll split the terminals. So in the top terminal, I will do a typical Shiny run app to run this app, and note that I'm explicitly providing it port 5555 so that I know exactly where it runs. And in the bottom, I will do a npm npx Cypress open. This is exactly same as opening the Cypress project. Yeah, E2E. Yeah, we need those setups. Chrome. Yeah, good. But instead of scaffolding specs, we will create a new spec. Create a new spec. We'll name it, let's say, Shiny. Okay. In this case, it just has some junk code which we do not need. So kitchen sink, we don't need that, and we will actually modify this code by. So as you can see, Cypress would create an E2E shiny.cy, which we created in the UI. So we paste a new test spec where we actually visit the Shiny app that is running in this terminal, which of course it can access. It's the same machine. And we get the ID name, type my name, get the action button ID and click it. Once we click it, we say if a greeting was present. This is actually the way in which this Shiny app works. Very simple Shiny app. And let's see what Cypress did. So it visited, it got the name, it typed my name, it clicked the greet. In the body, try to see if there was this hello with a pasted, and it was pasted. So it's a successful test. Now we'll slowly add some complexity to this. So one thing to, okay, this was going to be a side-by-side thing where we talk about this. So sometimes what happens is a Shiny process can take a long time, because of which you might, Cypress might think that, okay, your app is stable, so I'm going to start the assertion. So that happens when you, let's say you add a simple sleep time over here for 5 seconds. So let me restart this app, still running on the same port. But if I type my name now and click greet, it will actually wait for 5 seconds to greet me. how rude. But now if we try to run this Cypress test by doing two things, clicking this or saving it, both works. I'll just click this. As you can see, Cypress by default, the get method has 4-second. Uh, it will wait for 4 seconds till the app is stable, and it can try to find the element. In this case, it tried to find the body which contains this phrase for 4 seconds, but for 4 seconds it did not find it, so it gave an error. So this is quite common in Shiny, so you should be aware of that. And the solution for that is timeout. And I forgot the syntax. I think it's timeout, and let's say 6 seconds. So here it's milliseconds. So now it's running. It's waiting for 6 seconds. It will wait for 6 seconds. Something happened. Okay. Great. Yeah. Maybe 6 seconds is not enough for a 5-second sleep. Maybe I'll increase it to 8 seconds, or I should have reduced the time. It's all right. Let's see. Yeah, now as you can see, it worked. So timeout is one thing that you should be aware of when working with Shiny and Cypress. Now we slowly talk about errors, which is also one of the most used assertion in test that. So naturally, we would love to use it here as well. So as you can see, there is an error over here. I'm just creating another error text where I'm stopping it. So artificial error, nothing to be afraid of. So here, as you can see, there is an error. The way there are two types of error in Shiny, right? One is disconnected from server, which is a critical R error, which will literally disconnect the R connection and you can't access the app. And this is somewhat of a soft error. So you can still use the app, but you'll see this error output in the UI. So good thing about this error output is Shiny uses this Shiny output error class to style this as a red color. So we can make use of that information to assert if any element of the body contains this error. So if I add that test, you can see that, okay. Our expectation was this should actually fail because it actually has an error, but it passed. That is because Shiny is also very weird that sometimes things take a while to execute, and Cypress ran before that. That is what happened here. It visited, it got the body, and it checked that the body does not have an output error, and it says, "Yay, there's no error." But that's not the truth, because if you wait for some more time, you would most definitely see that. So how do we overcome that? So to overcome that, I'm sorry, I'm rushing through this, but to overcome that, we actually add this code over here. For now, don't think about this code that much. All it is doing is it's checking for the stability of the page, and once the page is stable, only then it will move along. So that's what this code is. And now, as you can see, it tried every 100 millisecond, it will try to see if the UI changes. For 300 milliseconds, that is the defaults here, it will throw the error. So now it works. Now, if we try to remove the error, let's comment this, rerun the Shiny app. Yeah, no error now. You shall pass. Now, if you try to refresh this, you can see that it passes. There are no errors. So that's something to be aware of. Trust me, I spent way too much time to see how that error happened, but it was not that hard to debug because Cypress automatically provides all these uh, DOM connections, so it was slightly easier to debug. But still, it was weird to hypothesize this and write this. But don't worry about the code. All the code will be provided in a repository. And now we actually talk about those special files that we have. So one of the special files that we have is command helpers. So that is inside support commands. So any command that you add here, in this case, we'll add this command. This code is literally the exact same code that is added here. So I'll remove it. What that helps us to do is it helps us to add custom Cypress commands. So in this case, I added a custom command called wait for stability and check error, catch error. And it takes two parameters. Stability period is by default 300 milliseconds, but it takes a selector. In mostly we would pass body. This would do the exact same test. As you can see, it caught the error, but the code was very fewer lines. And good thing about this is less try. Do not repeat yourself. We have a custom command that does this expectation of error for us. So this is pretty much simulating expect error in Shiny. So you can place this anywhere where you would expect error. Yeah. Or you would not want to expect error. Whichever one is suitable for you. Now we move on to another type of error. So in this case, let it still stay. We'll change the app. Now instead of, as you can see, it was a stop Shiny error. Instead of that, we make it a validation error. So once we make it a validation error and rerun the app, you can see that this app will display a validation error when the first letter is not capital. So if I add a capital, it's a valid. Yeah, it's valid. Small v, no. So Shiny also adds a custom class for this element. In this case, it's we can make use of that and try to find this. As simple as that. So don't tell me Cypress is hard. The syntax might be new, but it's not hard. And inside the Shiny, we try to find this class now to check if the validation error happens. And as you can see, it added small v. There was a validation error. It was testing if if the validation error should exist or should not exist when we add capital V. So simple. I think that covers the. Okay, the final thing is adding CI for this. So we were working with two files. One is the plain Cypress test with nothing. It's just this. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's just this default scaffold, but we also removed something, so it's lesser than the default as well. So to create GitHub Actions, all we need to do is create a GitHub directory, and inside GitHub directory, we want to create workflows, and inside workflows, we need to let's say test.yml, and inside this, we literally paste the recommendation they had to introduce Cypress end-to-end tests in the documentation of their GitHub Actions. They just mentioned that install npm. They could have provided npm code over here. It's just like 2 additional lines of code. I don't know why they did not do that. And once you do that, I don't know why the linter is showing error. Oh, it's probably something version v6. Okay. Sorry about that. The 6 was missing here. Okay. So all we need to do is do a git init. Let me try to push it to a repository. Let's do it live. Let me add it here. One important thing, always git ignore your node modules. They are basically all your node JavaScript packages. You don't need that. Let me open git ignore and add this node modules to git ignore. And yeah, all these files, I need them. Yeah, initial commit. Oh, every single time. Let me push this to the upstream repository as well. And hopefully if I refresh this, should be able to see that. Yeah, and CI should start running because we have the GitHub workflows. Yeah, it's running. We have 8 minutes. This should take 7 minutes, so we can make it. And I'll make it public as well. I don't think it's public yet. Okay, it's public, so you should be able to see that. We don't need these PRs. Probably those PRs interrupted this, but luckily one of the CI is still running. So let's see what happens here. Oh, it stopped. Let me manually run them. Oh, there is no. Okay, let me do an empty commit. Or let me add README. Hopefully this push should trigger it. Yeah, it's running. So we have 6 minutes. It takes 7 minutes. So unfortunately we didn't make it, but I also wanted to show parallelly one more thing. I wanted to show how to set up CI for the Shiny app. We actually didn't talk much about how to run this test without the interactive Cypress. So right now we were kind of hacking our way through it. We were running Shiny app in a different process, running the Cypress test in a different process. That's not ideally how you would want to run this. Ideally, you would want to do something like this. So yeah, we need an additional dependency, test E2E interactive. Let me install it. And once we do that, you can see right now it's only Cypress, but once this is installed, literally the first time this is happening to me. Not found. I swear this worked before. Maybe inside this. No. I don't remember. Maybe it's start and maybe it's this one. Not yeah, it's start and start server and test package. So sorry about that. It's yeah, this is the package name. It's not this. Yeah. Code never lies. Okay. So as you can see, this dependency was also added. Node modules will also be updated for sure. And in scripts, we'll add a few more scripts. So in this case, we would add how to run the Shiny app, a script. This will run the Shiny app. So if we do npm run app, this is literally doing Shiny run app under the hood. But this is being triggered using the npm the node environment. As you can see, if I open this, the app is still there. And yeah, so if you just go through them, you will understand them. It's not complicated, but start server and test is a very common thing that other testing frameworks, other language web applications needed to do. And in this case, it also applies to us. And if we do a npm run, run Cypress, it is going to do Cypress run, but it's not going to run the Shiny app. So to do both of them, we need to do test E2E, npm run test E2E. Now it will do the start server and test. And as you can see, this Shiny app is also being run because this start server is starting the run app, which will run the Shiny app. And once the Shiny app is run, it will wait for this localhost 5555 to be active. By active, I mean like responsive, handle any GET request or something like that. Once that is done, run Cypress will run, which will do Cypress run, which we did before to run them as a non-interactive test. So as you can see, it's running. Yeah, it passed. And the final piece of the puzzle is to set up Cypress CI. Okay, it failed. Okay, I'll fix them after the workshop. Don't worry about that. And I'll also add a README and both of these CI files. So one was this normal Cypress repository. The other one with all these Shiny things that we developed, I will push this to another repository. Both of these repositories will be available in this repository, which is not yet created. I'll create them and upload them. And if you want to avoid all of this headache, Rhino is the solution. I personally would like to have them. They offer more flexibility. So if I want to do exact same thing, I would go with Rhino. But yeah, in fact, everything that I showed today is how Rhino has implemented this feature. So you have two things to do after the workshop: Cypress scaffold examples and simple Shiny app with Cypress. I think we are out of time. Sorry about that. I'll stop sharing. Any questions? Sorry, I did not watch the chat at all. I know I don't have anyone helping me. Sad. But there are a lot of questions. I would like to answer them, but we are out of time, and I don't want to take more of your time. But if you have any more questions, I would like to stay for another 15 minutes to talk about those questions. So feel free to stay. If you have other things to do, please feel free to leave as well. But I'll be staying and trying to answer some of the questions from the bottom. Do you get this testing setup for free when you Rhino in it, or do you need to do npm install? You don't need to do npm install when it comes to Rhino. Rhino already knows that you need Cypress to run this, so it will do it for you. You just need Node so that you have the core feature. Curious how to customize my terminal like yours. Yeah, it's my customization is not that much, but I like it. If you just Google it, you'll see a lot of recommendations. Yeah. For a Shiny application using modules, especially nesting multiple modules, I'd be interested in learning how you would keep track of the input IDs as you supply them to your test script. Yeah. So the good thing about that is, normally when it comes to Cypress, you don't actually test using the IDs. So Cypress says that when you test using IDs or even classes, those tests are flaky. And by flaky, they mean that those tests can be fragile and unpredictable over time. So what Cypress recommends to do is add some data attribute to the UI element and target those data attribute elements. So that's one recommended way. The other recommended way is to target elements using the text which is contained in them. Contains is also a nice keyword, Cypress keyword that we have. We didn't talk about that, but it solves this use case. The R extension for VS Code has made tremendous strides. Yeah, that's true, and even works well with Shiny app development. I welcome workshop about that. Yeah, I think it's been about 1.5 years since I started to switch from RStudio completely, and now I'm more productive with VS Code. It took a few months to get up to the same productivity, but now I'm definitely past the productivity in RStudio, um, especially because of using multiple languages, and that's the main thing where VS Code shines. What will be the workshop on using VS Code for our? Yeah, same. What if app is published when user oh, I think this is what if app is published when with user authentic. Oh, okay, that's a good question. So similar to our how we store secrets, the Cypress tests can also store secrets and access those secrets and use those secrets to log in. It's been done. Is there a GitHub repo with the example app code test files? I promise I'll add them. I'll add them to github.com/epsilon/Cypress-masterclass. Same as Rhino-masterclass. Instead of Rhino, it's Cypress. Can you increase the font size? Oh, sorry, it's too late. I'm so sorry. It looks like the screen is highlighted. Okay, I think I was there for the chat when this happened. Now video. Great. I think I answered all the questions there. Oh, there are some new questions. Any plan on adding a record feature to Rhino to record Cypress tests? That might be challenging because unlike Shiny Test 2, which has this record feature, Cypress does not operate that way. As you saw, never we had a feature to record user interaction. So I'm not sure if it's even possible. For the recent open source project involving R and Python VS Code, the dev containers tailored made for the workflow. Yeah, it's a very powerful tool. Dev containers is an amazing tool in your arsenal. Can you share your VS Code configuration as part of this report? Sure, I'll include them in the repository when I share them publicly. Hopefully in a couple of days. Definitely before the weekend or after the weekend. Sorry, I can't promise. Okay, I think I answered all the questions. So if you have any other questions, please do ask them. I'm happy to answer them. If not, I think we can wrap this up. Thank you so much for your attention. And I hope you have a much deeper understanding of Cypress now. Thank you.